Introducing the official Werx coffee in 3 bold flavors. Fog Navigator, the master of mornings, chocolate and apricot. Texas Pecan, Lone Star Luxury, pecan and cocoa. House Decaf, full flavor, no buzz, smoky dark chocolate. 3 bold new flavors now available at monkeywerxus.com/shop or scan the QR code on screen now.
All right, welcome folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your sit rep. It is Friday, and pat yourselves on the back. You have survived yet another week of tyranny. And there'll be one day we won't be able to say that. So, but that said, let's kind of get into the deets. We're going to talk about all the stuff going on in the world right now. We're going to talk about some weather modification things. But this right now, just based on the chatter that I'm hearing, definitely time for us to all stay frosty because I think things are going to happen rapidly. We are one attack here in the United States away from losing all of our freedoms. So it is time to really start to ratchet up your prep, everything that you're doing to make sure you and your family are safe when things go south. All right. And so let's do this. I'm going to hop over here to our mini board. It is quite a slow day today. Just so you guys can see on the screen, it's, well, I mean, it's probably, 90 sitting up there. So really, really low compared to what we typically see. I actually had to check and make sure this thing was working right because I'm like, it's been a hot minute since I've seen it this low in terms of mil aircraft up. Now, keep in mind, we don't see the fighters and all the other stuff that go along with that. But 90 of those, and then the Tex 2s and the T-38 lawn darts are, you're only talking, less than 20 currently up there as well, which is, again, a pretty low number. Maybe it's because it's September 1 and, they haven't really started getting out there flying yet. So it could be it. We also have a long weekend coming up, and that could be part of it as well, right? Heading into that Labor Day weekend. So let's do this. Let's hop over here to our watch list. If you would, hit that like, subscribe, bell for notification so that you get the latest and greatest as we crank it out. So here we go. So this can be your watch list right now. Notice we got 33 aerial survey aircraft up. Take them off the screen. We'll come back to them at the end, but that's over the United States. Notice too, what we're missing are the intel balloons that were out off the southern coast. Yeah, they're still there. They're just hiding them right now. So just keep in mind that there's a lot of stuff that we can't see still. All right. Looks like a lot of Border Patrol stuff going on down there. Tex dot and which is the DOT, right? State troopers doing their thing. Got a NOAA bird over Florida. A little, let's see, what is that? Co-op 01E6, center of the United States. And then another little B350, Homeland Security. And that Q4 drone, score 90. Notice that is not the accurate aircraft picture for that. They do that from time to time just to mess with people, I guess. Just being cute. And then this little RV-12, I have no idea what that is. I don't really know. Chai, fuel, something another. That's really strange. And then Lasai, that's one of your recon birds. And then Glare 99, little BE-20, also recon bird. So we got 2 of them up over the northeast side of the house. Let's go over to Europe. And we'll kick it over here for a minute. A little graybeard. Some of your agency birds look to be headed currently over Europe, headed southbound. Again, it says Sandy Wings, but that's part of the graybeard folks. All right. And a little Ruski, only one up right now, showing a couple drones over Turkey as always. And back over to CONUS, and we'll just look at the survey flights. Like I said, 33 of those up right now. It's a pretty high number. We'll look at surveys closer. But that is just straight. If I strip everything out, that's your survey flights for today. Again, very high. All right, let's move on over to the intel side of the house. The one that catches my eye, besides the ones running border down here, that's, we typically see them along that area. You want to see them there because they're looking for the bad guys along the border. But that one's a little man in the middle looking spin over Georgia. Wonder what's going on in the courts of Georgia. They may want to have ears on and seeing what's being communicated between everybody. Nothing to see here, folks. They don't do that in Arizona either. Okay, and then over D.C., that's where they ought to be watching, honestly. And then probably just making sure their check's clear, All right, and let's go over to Europe, and you'll see we got something headed out over the Baltic Sea. Again, this is intel reconnaissance aircraft. And then the usual stuff. Well, that one's not usual. Kind of the middle, right there over that shin bone area of Italy. And then notice this stuff here as we get down a little further south, north of Benghazi, Libya. So that's because there's a big Russian presence down there. And then, of course, the Jordanians are also kicking it. You can see, looking as they have been doing back and forth, probably more at the border between them and Saudi. All right. Okay, let's talk surveys for a minute. You're going to notice center of the United States, they look to be going back over some of the areas again, just polishing the data. I'm pretty confident that they are utilizing the AI to analyze this data as it comes in, and that's why they're sending them back out to run further stuff. Northeast, as always, there's a lot of stuff in the Northeast, so I can see why they would do that. Florida, notice it's over the area that just got hit with the hurricane. Maybe they need to update the data to reflect the current lay of the land. Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah, you don't want to go kicking down doors if the door's not there anymore, right? So, yeah. All right, nothing out over Hawaii. And then let's get over to this side. Well, we do have one little thing in Hawaii. Sorry about that. Over Oahu. Now, you'd think, hey, you know what? Why don't you use some of the survey data to look at Lahaina, right? Seems like a novel idea, but I guess they don't have any common sense when it comes to that area. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute as well. I got some really strange data coming out of that place. Perth, as always, polishing the data again. East Coast, West Coast of Australia. Yeah, I think this is a battlefield for when the lockdowns come, folks. That's just my opinion, but they're going to have to contain everybody. And then that's where your military base is right there, your big one, at least the U.S. military base right there in Poland. And then Belgium, still doing their survey stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at something different today, just to change it up. We're going to look at the AWACS. Remember, these planes can play man in the middle. Notice that one over Europe, over France, actually doing some man in the middle. That means they are an airborne cell tower, not just handling air traffic. Same thing here. Kind of strange. I didn't know they did that until a pilot came forward and told me that they did that, AWACS pilot. And then it started to make a little more sense. And we'll go down a little further south. We'll check Australia, just kick the tires there. I'm not seeing much. We'll hop over here to Hawaii and let our screen catch up to us. Nothing there either. So back over to the United States. And you can see, looks like they're working a little bit of heavy activity off the East Coast down towards the Texas border. Again, that little circle there right over the border. That's not really a tight circle. The man in the middle circles are typically like perfectly round precision. All right. All right. One more we're going to kick the tires on would be our graybeards, right? That's a Phoenix Air. These are agency boys. Notice that one's headed in and out of China Lake, pretty hot and heavy. So they're moving engineers back and forth from the main city out to where people don't want to live to do work. And then a little bit up there near Wisconsin, Illinois, Chicago. And then let's see. You can see one transitioning across to Europe. And we're catching one today, actually. We're just looking at that. But notice you've got them up over Poland, right? So you got your agency boys working. Remember, this is pretty much the mode of transportation for a lot of our agency guys. So when you see movies like Jack Ryan and Lioness, where they're getting on these dark gray aircraft, or just a G5 lap of luxury, notice the broken traces there over Africa. But that's what they're flying. They're basically jumping on these little private company charters that are contracted to do all of their flying for them. So, All right, let's talk NOAA, and then we're going to transition into the news. This one kicking off the coast of California, southern side. Remember, these are, this is the National Oceanic whatever. It's NOAA, NOAA. There we go. I don't know why I vapor locked on that one. It even happens to me sometimes, actually more normal than it has ever been. So, all right, let's talk weather mods, and then we're going to get into it, all right? So just to give you an idea of what is going on, these are weather mod companies. That's what they specialize in, cloud seeding. Notice this one up over, that looks to be Washington State, South Washington, maybe even Oregon, and then North Dakota. As always, you know, just you gotta keep the grains growing. Feed those cows. We'll talk about that a little bit too. Look at this, New York trying to fly in a little weather or clouding it up for folks. Maybe they don't want the smoke over the city anymore, so they've hired them to come in and throw some rain in there, get rid of the smoke. And then Florida, right? Remember, this is weather modification, right? So they're popping up, making it rain in Florida. Then we get over to Saudi Arabia, where we've caught them in the act recently with some really bad weather. And you can see they're still doing it there. Absolutely. Yep, putting that water on the desert. All right. Now, that is where we are with weather mods and NOAA. Now, let's get over to some of the news and just to touch base on what is going on out there. Bet you didn't know this, because I just ran across it as I've been doing my writing my blog that's going to come out about weather modification, the countries that do it, companies, etc. But check this out. The WMA, the Weather Modification Association. Yeah, these guys are pretty organized. And here's some of their latest projects, as you can see on the map. Notice a lot of little rain going here, north and south, making it snow, right? What they don't talk about is making it hail and all the other stuff they can do. But we'll get into that as well. A little bit here in Greece. What I find interesting is there's no mention of it here. So I don't know how accurate, or I say accurate. It's probably accurate, but in terms of how recent this thing has been updated. So, all right. And then we have another one here, North American Weather Consultants, yet another seeding operation. This one is in Colorado. I think they do it to, basically, it's funny how they show the hurricanes, though. Gotta really make you wonder, doesn't it? But yeah. Anyway, they do it over the mountains so people have nice, thick powder to ski in. So, all right, now let's do this. I want to show you this little data point. All right, the top beef producing states in the U.S. Notice Texas, numero uno. Oklahoma, Missouri, Nebraska, just right up the middle of the United States for the most part. And then here's another little graph for you if you didn't get it from the bar chart. But these are the states that are really involved. California, surprisingly, but look at this is Texas, the number one producer. Well, I will tell you, living in Texas for the last 20 years, this is the most extreme weather we've had in any summer. I think it's historic for that matter. There is a dome of high or hot air that is over Texas. What do you think that's doing to our cows, right? And it makes them really hard to feed off the land because the grass isn't growing. Everything's drying up. So farmers are having to actually go out and buy hay and grain or whatever it is that they're feeding their livestock, and to basically mitigate the fact that the grass and the ground isn't allowing the cows to properly feed and graze. And so it drives up the cost of steak, and it also cuts down on the amount of beef that is produced. And so we're going on about 4 months now where we've had this heat dome over the state of Texas. 4 months. I will tell you, my general area has gotten less than a half an inch of rain since May. Yeah, and matter of fact, the last rain that we got was actually hail, and it was softball size hail. So that gets me to the next data point for you. I don't know if you've seen this or not. I've got a teaser we're going to roll in here in just a second, but check this out. This right here is it's a professor. Many of you have probably recognized him. He's like a quantum physics, PhD guy out of MIT or something. That's super brainiac. Talks about all the different stuff, in terms of the universe, etc. But listen to this. This was 9 years ago on CBS. All right, let this one sink in for a second.
Said everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far, it works. When you have...
All right. Okay. Let's talk about that for a minute. Shooting lasers into the sky. All right. I want to share this with you. Look at this pattern. I know this firsthand because this is the pattern that took place when I got softball size hail that hit our area. All right. Softball size hail, folks. There was no thunder, no lightning. This happened, and then the storm just exploded. Now, you would think if you had something like that happen overhead, it would have the loudest crack of lightning. It'd be unimaginable. Not the case. All right. And check this out. Watch this one too. This is the latest NEXRAD satellite image. Notice there is, as this thing goes through, it's on a loop. You're going to see a little grid that pops in that almost looks like carbon fiber or something on the lens. Also notice the laser that keeps shooting this, up and down in the center there, that flare you keep seeing. You see a little shiny spike that looked like a bunch of little bolts right there, right in the middle of that storm as it goes. Yeah. You think they're messing around with the weather? What do you think? I think probably. All right. Check this out. We're going to go into this teaser. This is actually going to be put out on Patreon tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., but it's the latest video that James and I have done. So check it out. As I watch all of this weather modification stuff go on, I'm learning a ton of different things that are real. They're not something made up science fiction. Our ecosystem is so well balanced, and when you start to mess around with it and do the things that they're doing, you're causing everything to go out of whack. They are the engineers of climate change. They are the reason we have climate change. Like I said, it's not climate change, it's population change. You just have to get all that stuff in your head.
You are right. They are creating this climate issue, and they have been practicing it for years. They've mastered it, and they are creating all these different weather anomalies. And by the way, it's not a coincidence where you see a series of these things happening outside of their season, and they all are in concentrated areas right after you see the associated flights. We know that these people are dirty. Look, we're dealing with the modern day Tower of Babel here. Back in Genesis, they were building a tower that they believed would give them godlike powers. They put themselves in the place of God, and we're doing that today. I don't think AI is as significant as weather modification. I think people realize that.
Yeah. I would tell folks that if this sounds like it's all conspiracy theory to you, go do the research yourself, dig in on it, find somebody that has a good reputation that will present you with the facts, and then make your decision from there. All right, here's a little sneak peek, but we've been doing that every Saturday morning. We did miss one, but for the most part, every Saturday morning we have this little show that we go into things like the CIA and the deep state and weather modification and the Bible and just a bunch of different things. So hopefully you get a lot out of it if you're a member over there. If not, you can jump over there onto Patreon for as little as $3 a month and become a member, and you'll have access to a whole bunch of different exclusive content. So, okay, let's get into what's going on around the world. This one is something we have to pay attention to because, again, it's just a data point. It's not adding up. There's a lot of things going on with this whole Maui fire deal that make no sense. This one is another one. Remember, the electric company was getting blamed because they said that the cause of the fires were down power lines. Well, then all of a sudden, Hawaiian Electric comes out and says, no, that's not the case. The power lines were shut hours before the fire ever even broke out. They already knew they had a high wind alert, so they killed the power to prevent that from happening. And just keep your eye on this, because something doesn't. It's whenever it doesn't add up, there's always there's something we're missing that they're keeping us from finding out. Whatever it may be, it just doesn't add up. Another one. There are 2,000 kids that are still missing from that. 2,000. You don't hear anything about that, do you? National Guard's been deployed. They won't let reporters do anything, not even drone footage. They're putting up black silt fences all the way around those areas so that you can't see in. If you stop and get out of your car to take pictures, the National Guard shows up and runs you off. So there's a lot of stuff about this whole story that it just doesn't sit right. And I think it's not passing the litmus test by us. I can imagine what the locals are going through there. I'm really shocked that they've handled it in the manner that they have, honestly. All right. Speaking of village idiots here, let's get into Flashbang. He is our village idiot, isn't he? Okay, it's September 1, and it looks like he's going to have a comment on the smoking hot August jobs report number. Let's see what is going on with that as we get over to the number. So it looks like we produced 187,000 jobs in August. You think about that. Our economy is pretty much slowing down. It looks like it's on the recovery the way they presented the data. Remember, some of this stuff has been getting revised behind us. But you look at August from last year, August here, that's quite the decline. I mean, that is probably 40% less than what it was August a year ago. So even when you try to paint it in short-term, 3-month increments where it looks like it's chugging right along, the reality is it is after year over year, it's really dismal. So they're saying the labor market continued to moderate gradually. See, that's how they're painting it. With hiring remaining steady, but the unemployment rate rising. Yeah, that's probably that 40% right here. There's a lot of unemployment cuts going on right now, especially in the tech sectors with AI. It's just killing the industry. So anyway, all right, let's move on from Bazooka Joe there, and let's get into, I mentioned this in our last sit rep, the fact that this is the fragile state index, okay? These colors that are the brighter colors are basically states that have a very high risk of collapsing, meaning their economies are tanking, their governments are tanking, nothing they can do to really keep them going. And when you have that implosion, that just creates turmoil around the world, right? So notice that the United States isn't necessarily blue like Canada is, which means that they have, or we have, basically started to kind of do our dip, all right? The big thing is if this ever goes to one of these colors, the rest of the world is toast, because right now everybody is on the petrodollar. Now, we've heard a lot of talk about BRICS and all the nations that are applying to become part of BRICS because they want to get off of the dollar. Not all of them were accepted into BRICS. However, I will tell you the fact that you had 41 countries that wanted to become part of BRICS tells you that they all can see the writing on the wall. All right. Okay, so let's talk about this one first. U.S. Embassy in Haiti urges citizens to leave the country ASAP. All right. That is because they have a big gang problem going on right now, and you can see it burning the tires in the street. Yeah, things are getting a little crazy with a lot of violence. And so Haiti is one put on our watch list, and that another failed state, right? Get over here to this side of it, Gabon, right? This guy, this general has named the transitional leader after yet another coup. All right. And so we've been talking about the coups in Africa, and it's crazy how this stuff is just taken off like nobody's business over there. Yet another one, the DR Congo puts official death toll in an anti-UN protest at 43. So 56 people injured, 158 people detained, including religious sect leaders. So you can see people are getting pretty wild in Africa. If you haven't heard of Gabon, this is the location right here. You hear of some of the countries beside it that we talk about, like Sierra Leone and things like that, where they have pretty big Ebola outbreaks, things like that. This is the Republic of Congo. That's what we just talked about with the UN uprising. And actually, this may have been here, DR of Congo. So that was here. And then this is the latest coup. This is where they just had the uprising. But if you remember, we were just talking about all of these different ones that have been through recent coups. And I'm talking in the last, 16, 18 months. Mali just had it. Burkina Faso just had it. Niger is currently going through it. Chad, Sudan, and then this one, Ethiopia. Don't lose sight of this one because that is an area that is actually in a very big uprise right now. They have a lot of unrest going on. So all the way across the center, it looks like it is now popped down over here, and it's starting to take place here. So the middle of Africa is just in a state of upheaval. All right. And then again, here another one, Zimbabwe, one add just another African country to it. Opposition calls for a nationwide protest over disputed vote. So, yeah. Anyway, just yet another one. Again, you get back into here, and it's kind of, it's happening all over the place. Pretty wild. Keep your eye on it. Again, it's a data point for us all, right? All right, let's move on. I talked about AI in the last video, just the fact that the militaries and the governments around the world are starting to really, really increase their efforts on this. This AI thing is exponentially gaining ground day after day. You're not seeing, the big changes every 5 years. You're seeing it almost in days and in hours now in terms of what it's gaining. But Israel just unveiled the most advanced surveillance plane with AI-powered sensors, and they say it's unprecedented. So this right here is going to be a game changer for them. I would look to the north when it comes to Syria and Lebanon with the presence of Iran there. This may be how they detect, they say this thing has some crazy sensors on it that will, it's sniffing everything, right, and seeing everything. So, yeah, you go rolling up there with some type of a nuke pretty close to the border, and that could be why, you see Damascus disappear overnight, right? Isaiah 17. Okay, let's move on. Over to the UK. Economic concerns grow in the UK as manufacturing slumps to a 39-month low. They say in August, the Purchasing Managers Index, or the PMI, plummeted to 43 points, down from July's 45 points, and falling below what they call the critical threshold of 50, which signifies an expanding output. So, yeah, that basically means people, because this is what they buy, right? It's kind of like the Dry Baltic Index, and you get over here, same thing. This is a leading indicator. When you see this start to tank, it means that the movement of goods just isn't happening. They're not making big buys, and they're not floating it around the world. And so when that's again a sign of economic recession or even a collapse in some cases. But yeah, you don't see it. When it gets down like here or even here, where it I think it hit like 920. That is really, really low in terms of the volume moving. So that took place in June, which was just 3 months ago. So anyway. Eyes on that one. All right. Let's get over here too. We were talking about weather, and you see this dome that's happening over the United States, right? Let me go click this, and we'll take away the temp aspect of it, and then you can really see, the way things are just setting up here across the United States. Not a lot of rain and nothing here across the middle. Again, that's your meat basket, so to speak, right? So if we look at what's going on TFR-wise, it looks like Flashbang is headed home for the weekend yet again. And I mentioned in one of the previous sit reps, this guy's had over 365 days of vacation time in 2 years. So, yeah, well, 2.5 years. So almost a year's worth of vacation. That's pretty incredible. Yeah. Pretty ridiculous, really, what it is. So, all right. Well, let's do this. Let's, again, talking to the NOTAMs, remember this is turbulence, right? That's a turbulence indicator. You can see which direction it's coming. Looks like it is getting ready to roll. Well, I was saying it was going to roll. Doesn't look like it's moving anywhere. Just kind of stationary over the northern Pacific Ocean. A little bit north of Hawaii, a little bit south of Hawaii, or northwest of Hawaii. But then we get into this side of it, and just notice we've got the danger boxes continue off the east and west coasts. All of these little orange boxes are basically football stadiums, right? These are little mini TFRs, probably because it's NFL weekend or something coming up. And while these guys are taking knees, they'll be, flying probably aircraft over the area. So they have TFRs put into place for opening weekend. All right. Let me back it up a little bit. Not seeing anything that really catches my eye. We'll put the turbulence back in motion. See if there's anything now. Other than China. China seems to be getting quite a bit. I was reading something about their look at the amount of turbulence over most of China, almost half the state. By the way, China has one of the most advanced weather modification programs on the planet. I don't know if you knew that or not, but as I was doing my research, I did run across that, which kind of surprised me. But their Three Gorges Dam is actually cracking. It's been cracking for a while, but they're saying that if that thing ever gives way, it's going to kill millions of people because it'll just flood everything. So, all right. And then again, we were watching the weather mod here. Again, looks like that is the area of concentration. Look at all the storms down in southern area, down towards Yemen and in Saudi Arabia. So, all right. On over to the next piece. Ukraine's defense chief expected to be sacked next week among corruption probe. So significant rumors are once again swirling about the imminent sacking of the Ukraine's defense minister, or the DM as we call it. But this is an interesting thing because now they're saying is he could be dismissed as the top post as early as next week, and then given a new role as the ambassador to the United Kingdom. So he's not just, being asked to step down and he's being investigated and prosecuted because of his corruption. He's basically given a new job to oversee the UK. You let that sink in. Yeah, there's a reason why Ukraine is not allowed into NATO. It's because they're corruption. And that's why they've been prevented from getting in there. Yet we continue to take the most corrupt planet or country on the planet and pump almost $130 billion into that country. Nothing to see here, folks. All right, let's get over to this side. Ukraine loses 9 pilots in 1 week and 2 helicopter crashes in the Donbass region. This is interesting because I had been saying for a while there was really no flying going on over Ukraine. It's kind of a no-fly zone. As you can see, one giant red box. There are no commercial aircraft flying in and out of Ukraine. In fact, when any of the dignitaries come into the region, what they do is basically jump on a train and then take the train ride into Kiev, if that is indeed where they're going. There is speculation that even Zelensky isn't even in Kiev, that he's out here in Poland somewhere hanging out nice and safe. But the fact that they have lost 9 pilots in a week, it just goes to show you the air defense systems that are over that region are very active, and helicopters don't stand a chance when it comes to the air defense systems, and that's why they're getting smoked. But we did see their top pilot just got shot down. And I would imagine as soon as we give them F-16s, those are also going to get shot down, given the fact that they are very old and dated F-16s. They're not the latest and greatest modern ones. They're ones we're actually going to be taking out of the mothballs and giving them the instruments they need to fly and then sending them over. So, all right, let's talk mill installations here. And we've got, button that up just a little bit, got a handful of flights inbound to Biggs Army Airfield. We've got one Omni coming in from Shannon, Ireland. We've got this one coming in from Windsor, New York, or New Windsor, New York, 757-200 National Cargo. Atlas Air coming in from Anchorage. And that could be actually dropping some artillery off, or they're bringing in some equipment to be modified and then sent back out. But looks like that 747 is actually going to be setting up shop there for a little bit, taking maybe a troop rotation as it heads to Houston. Omni's headed to Indianapolis, and Eastern Airlines headed down to Puerto Rico. And that's pretty much it. We do have a Reach C-17 that's in and out as well, headed back to Joint Base McCord in Tacoma, Washington. And then that National Cargo is headed up to Bangor, Maine. So probably a little bit of a mix of this looks to be the flavor of troops, but you could end up having immigrants on one of these planes, versus troops, but just depends. Okay, I'm leaning towards the troops on that one. All right, over to Dover. Looks like we just have one 747 Coletta coming in from CVG, and then another one coming in from JFK. That's Atlas Air. Everything else looks to be two Atlas Airs. One coming in from Ramstein as well. Everything else are 172s. Atlas Air looks to be headed back to Ramstein, so it's a round trip. And then this one's getting a camber call out, so it's headed to England. And then that one's headed to the forward operating base, RZE Poland. Over to Ramstein. And you can see this one's coming in from England, 747. This one's coming from Dover. We just looked at that. And then on this side, looks like this 777 is headed back to Baltimore, Washington. That's going to be troops more than likely. And then our forward operating base. Let's see what it looks like for a Friday. If we go down the list, German Air Force is coming in from Cologne. One camber flight from Dover. We saw that one on the docket. And I'm not seeing anything else on that side. Let's see on the exfil board. Looks like German Air Force is headed back to Cologne, so it's just a round trip. Atlas Air headed down to Seoul, or headed to Seoul from there, so it's headed back, round robin, headed over to get some more artillery to bring in for these guys to shoot. Let's see, and they are still blowing through artillery, folks, like nobody's business. Yeah, shooting like stormtroopers. All right, Coletta. I say Coletta. Constanta. There we go. Constanta is, looks like we've got this base commander that's coming inbound. And that's the only thing. It looks like he's headed out of there to Wiesbaden, back up to Germany. That's all I'm seeing. So Constanta's pretty light today for a Friday. All right. Then we get over to the camber flights. I only show one on the board right now. Headed, looks like it took off out of Rota, and it's headed to Catania. All right. So down here near Malta. So there's that flight right there. Level at 36,000 feet, 590 miles an hour. So Catania. There we go. And then we have the Brits, very, very active and busy today. A lot of stuff originating out of the UK, it looks like. And then a couple, like most of them are coming out of the UK, scattered all over the place. This one's headed over to what looks to be Canada. Then these others, one's into Sweden, just about to land. 800 feet, 162 miles an hour. So that's on final approach right there. And then you can see some of the others down over Italy, down near, down southern Europe. And then this one coming out of Cyprus. There we go. All right, NATO, nothing up for the NATO birds. Oh, wait, no, we do have one coming out of Delgado, Lisbon. So back that up. Yeah, there we go. Coming out of Lisbon, headed northbound. Omni, again, these guys serve many masters. Looks like they are bringing some folks from Manchester back into Canada. So it looks to be a pretty big rotation of flights back and forth between the two. And then this one, Biggs Army Airfield to Indianapolis, we already looked at that. And then this one headed over to Osan Air Base from Seattle. All right, National Cargo trip. Actually, that's going to be a 747-400 San Francisco to Anchorage. And then it'll probably head over here to South Korea as well. Western Global, 2 747s, one coming out of Alaska to Osan, the other Los Angeles to South Korea, Seoul, South Korea. So 2 inbound. So we're going to pick up another load. I'm telling you, the 500,000 artillery rounds of 153, I think it was 153, Mike, or 155, Mike. Anyway, it's one of those two. 500,000 rounds we took on loan from there. We're going to be flying those forever and a day, nonstop. They'll just keep going for years because 500,000 rounds on a 747. You're not going to get that many because of weight, and it's just going to take up a lot of space to get them. So these guys will be in business for years moving that artillery. All right. Okay. Then our immigrant machine. Look how busy they are today for a Friday. Yeah, let's see where they're rolling out of. Phoenix to Reno, Miami to Cuba, El Salvador to Alexandria. That's probably coming back empty, both of these. Tucson to Alexandria. Same thing there. Columbus down to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Laredo, Texas to Guatemala City. El Paso to San Salvador. And then we've got Chicago to Kansas City. So some of these are definitely moving some folks around. Again, a lot of these interior of the country, that's feeding the Amazon machine. You'll see that increase as we get closer to Christmas because it's cheap labor. And talking with someone that was offered the job and is in the know from Mexico that lives in the United States, and he's talked to family. My understanding from them is the fact that they're putting these folks in hotel rooms, four people to a hotel room, and they basically are working 4 12-hour shifts, and then they get time off. They send them back and then bring in a fresh crew, and they're on a rotation. All right, Jenna 625. Where are you headed today? Looks like they're headed to Hawaii, if I had to guess, but maybe not. They're still pretty high. A little shadow on the plane there. 40,000 feet, 527 miles an hour. Let's see where they head. We'll have to check back in on that one and see what they do. But that is going to be I think that's the director of DOJ. All right. Yeah, that schlep. All right. And then our Gestapo bird, looks like they were down in Greensboro and just came back. That just took place yesterday, landed about 22 hours ago. So again, this is your FBI is who that is. So part of the DOJ. We're down there in Greensboro. So, all right. Well, listen, I think that's it for today. We've covered everything that we have to talk about and just so much more we didn't talk about. But tune in on Monday and we'll just keep an eye on it. We're headed into September. Again, a lot of chatter out there across the board and a lot of different things that I'm hearing. I'm not going to say it because I can't confirm it all, but just stay frosty, folks. This is definitely a time that we need to all be paying very close attention to what's going on around us, all right? That's it. Keep that powder dry, too. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the latest gear and products over at monkeywerxus.com.